There's a reason he can't move on no matter how much time has passed. You may think it's about love, chemistry, or even physical attraction, but psychology reveals something far more powerful, something forbidden, something hidden in the deepest corners of his mind. The truth is, you've triggered a part of the psyche that refuses to let go. And once that happens, you're not just a memory, you're an imprint. Today, we're diving into forbidden psychology of why he simply cannot forget you. And once you understand it, you'll never see relationships the same way again. Welcome to Soul Tide, where we explore the hidden forces of human behavior, attraction, and psychology. In this video, we're going deep into Carl Jung's shadow theory, attachment psychology, and the unconscious drives that explain why certain people linger in our minds, sometimes forever. If you ever wonder why a man keeps coming back, why he still stalks your social media, or why he can't fully replace you, stay with me until the end. Because this isn't just about him. It's about understanding your own power, your energy, and the psychological forces that make you unforgettable. Imagine this. A man is scrolling through his phone late at night. He sees hundreds of photos, conversations, maybe even reminders of work and friends. But one image, one thought of you, pierces through all the noise. Why? Because memory is not logical. It is emotional ink, tattooed into the subconscious. When you triggered a deep emotional experience in him, whether joy, frustration, or longing, it created a psychological imprint he cannot erase. Neurologists call this the amygdala effect, the brain's emotional center storing experiences tied to intensity. And psychology confirms it. Men don't remember everything about women. They remember how a woman made them feel. That's why he might forget what you wore, but never forget the way his heart raced when you walked away, or the electricity when you laughed at his joke. But here's the hidden, forbidden truth. When you became a mirror for his shadow, his unspoken insecurities, his unconscious desires, your presence became more than physical. It became archetypal. Carl Jung wrote that the anima, the feminine figure in a man's unconscious, is projected onto women in his life. When you unknowingly embodied his anima, his inner feminine, he wasn't just relating to you, he was relating to his own psyche. Through you, this is why he can't forget you. Because forgetting you would mean forgetting a part of himself. There's a truth hidden beneath layers of ordinary attraction, a truth Jung himself understood deeply. Not every woman a man meets leaves a lasting imprint. Most come and go like passing figures in a dream. But then there's the one, you, who plants herself inside his subconscious and refuses to leave. Why? Because you didn't just connect with his conscious mind. You awaken an archetype, one of the primal images that live in every man's psyche. When you laughed with him, when you looked into his eyes, when you shared something vulnerable or mysterious, something inside him recognized you as more than a woman. You became a symbol. You became the forbidden image he didn't even know he was searching for. Maybe you mirrored his anima, the feminine archetype that shapes his understanding of women. Maybe you represented the nurturer he secretly longs for, or the rebellious free spirit that his own repressed self-desires. Here's the forbidden part. He can't control this imprint. The ego, the rational self, tries to move on, telling him that you're just another person. But the unconscious doesn't play by those rules. It clings, it repeats, it replays. That's why months, even years later, he'll suddenly feel a pang of memory, a scent on the street, a song playing late at night, a stranger's voice with your same tone. And without warning, he is transported back to you. This isn't simply missing someone. It's not even nostalgia. It's psychological possession. Because you activated a part of him that he cannot silence. You became an archetype that his soul recognizes. And once that recognition happens, it cannot be undone. And here's the secret. It has nothing to do with how perfect you were or how flawless the relationship seemed. It has to do with resonance, an ancient, invisible resonance between his unconscious needs and your presence. That is why he can't forget you. Because forgetting you would mean cutting out a part of his own psyche. There's a haunting presence in every man's memory, what psychologists often call a phantom of unresolved desire. This phantom is not about what actually happened, but about what could have happened. Think about it. Every unfinished conversation, every moment when you pulled away, every time he thought he had you and then lost you, it plants a seed of unresolved tension. And tension, when left open, never disappears. It echoes in the mind like a song that never ends. In Jungian psychology, this ties directly to the concept of the animus projection. A man doesn't just remember you. He attaches all his unfulfilled desires, his hidden fantasies, and his unmet needs onto the image of you. You are no longer simply a woman. You become the symbol of everything he thinks he is missing. This is why men can forget casual flings, but they struggle to forget the one who awakened in them a sense of mystery and incompletion. Now here's the forbidden truth. Men are not haunted by closure. They are haunted by the lack of it. The unfinished story lingers louder than any love story that ended neatly. It's not the certainty that binds him to you. It's the uncertainty. When you left an emotional question mark in his life, you didn't just become a memory. You became a myth inside his psyche. And myths are far harder to erase than people. That is why he can move on physically, sleep with others, even claim he's over you. But every quiet moment, when the lights are off and his defenses lower, that phantom appears again. The phantom of you, the unresolved desire, the unfinished sentence, the forbidden what if. When two souls meet, something deeper happens than most people ever realize. Every interaction, every smile, every glance, creates an emotional imprint on the unconscious. This is not simply memory. It is experience etched into the very architecture of the psyche. For him, you became a mirror of his hidden self. Your words, your laughter, your energy awakened dormant parts of him. Jung often described how relationships bring forth the anima in men, the inner feminine that connects them to their emotional depths. And once awakened, it cannot simply be forgotten. This is why he feels haunted by you, not because of who you were in day-to-day life, but because of the part of himself you reflected back at him. Losing you feels like losing access to that inner world. And this is a forbidden truth. It was never just about you. It was about what you awakened in him. Have you ever noticed how some people can walk away from relationships without much difficulty, while others feel tethered for years? That tether isn't logic. It's psychic bonding, the way one person leaves a permanent emotional signature on the other. When you were with him, his nervous system adapted to your presence. The sound of your voice, your unique rhythm of attention, the way you made him feel seen, those cues rewired his brain's reward system. It wasn't just affection, it was survival-level attachment. And the human psyche clings fiercely to what once felt like home. This is why forgetting feels impossible. Because to forget, you would mean erasing the self he became when he was with you. And deep down, he fears that without that reflection, he may never access that part of himself again. So he clings, not always consciously, but in dreams and memories, in the way his body tightens when something reminds him of you. Jung called this the autonomy of the unconscious, the idea that even if the mind wants to move on, the soul refuses. And here's the paradox. The more he resists these memories, the stronger they grow, because suppression fuels obsession. The shadow does not disappear when ignored. It festers, it grows roots, it demands to be acknowledged. You became part of his inner landscape. And no matter how many distractions he seeks, he cannot walk away from his own psyche. You remain not just as memory, but as symbol, as archetype, as forbidden imprint. Every person we meet leaves a trace on us, some fleeting, some permanent. But when it comes to romantic connections, certain anchors form in the unconscious mind that make forgetting someone nearly impossible. These anchors are not logical. They are deeply emotional, sensory, and symbolic. Let's uncover the most powerful ones. 1. The emotional highs and lows. One of the strongest anchors in his memory is the roller coaster of emotion he experienced with you. If you ever gave him moments of intense joy, laughter, intimacy, or adventure, those highs carve a vivid impression. If there were also moments of tension, longing, or even conflict, those lows intensify the memory. Psychologists call this the peak end rule. People remember relationships by their most intense moments, not the daily details. That means he doesn't remember every text, but he remembers the time you looked at him with tears in your eyes, or the night you shared uncontrollable laughter. 2. The sensory imprint. Smell, touch, tone of voice. These sensory details bypass rational thought and go straight into his limbic brain, the seat of memory and emotion. Your perfume, the way your skin felt, the rhythm of your voice when you whispered something private. These are coded as unique. Even years later, another person's scent, song, or phrase can trigger an involuntary flood of memories about you. This is why, no matter how much time has passed, he may suddenly feel you near when he smells a certain fragrance or hears a song you both loved. 3. The unfinished story. The human mind hates open loops. If a relationship ends without full closure, the subconscious keeps replaying it, searching for meaning. If he doesn't know why you left, or if he feels there was more to explore, that lack of resolution locks you into his psyche. You become the what if, the haunting counterfactual of what life could have been. In forbidden psychology, this is called the Zeigarnik effect. Unfinished emotional experiences remain sharper and more memorable than completed ones. For the archetypal role you played. On a deeper Jungian level, you may have represented an archetype in his unconscious. The muse, inspiring his creativity. The healer, soothing his wounds. The temptress, awakening his passion. These roles are bigger than you as an individual. You tapped into something eternal within him, something he cannot simply replace with another person. 5. The mirror of his shadow. Finally, and perhaps most powerfully, you may have mirrored back his shadow, the hidden parts of himself he didn't want to face. Maybe you challenged his ego. Maybe you exposed his insecurities. Maybe you stirred desires he didn't understand. The shadow is unforgettable because it represents the deepest confrontation with oneself. In remembering you, he's really wrestling with himself. So why can't he forget you? Because you're not just a person to him. You are a collection of anchors, imprints, and archetypes his mind cannot untangle. You are stitched into his psyche like a forbidden story, half told but never resolved. There comes a point in every man's psyche when reality and fantasy blur. When he remembers you, it's not just you he's holding on to, it's the myth of you. This is a forbidden truth. When a man can't forget you, it's often because you become the heroine of his inner story. You are no longer just a woman he once loved or lost. You are the symbol of something he craves: freedom, mystery, healing, or passion. Carl Jung once said that human beings do not live in a purely rational world. They live in a symbolic one. And so, the woman who lingers in his memory is not remembered for every detail of what she did or said. She's remembered because she represented something archetypal, something larger than life. Maybe you represented to him the innocence he lost long ago, or the wild freedom he wished he had the courage to embody, or the love he never thought he deserved. Whatever it was, you became the mirror of his unconscious desires. And here's the catch. He doesn't even fully realize this. This is why he may move on, date someone new, even fall in love again. And still, when he's alone in the silence of his thoughts, you slip back in, not because you're perfect, not because you were flawless, but because, in his inner world, you became a myth he can't rewrite. Psychologists call this the idealization trap. Once someone has been cast in the role of an archetype in our unconscious, they're almost impossible to fully let go of. They haunt us like a shadow because they're not just a memory anymore. They're a story woven into our very sense of self. And that's why, even if he doesn't call you, even if years pass by, he might still scroll through your photos, or remember the way you laughed, or replay a moment that felt electric. Because the truth is, he's not only remembering you, he's remembering the version of himself he once felt he could be when he was with you. And that version of him is the one he doesn't want to forget. In Jungian thought, there exists a concept that transcends time, culture, and psychology, the archetype of the eternal feminine. Goethe once wrote that the eternal feminine draws us upward, and Jung echoed this truth in his exploration of the anima, the inner feminine that lives within every man's psyche. When a man meets a woman who resonates deeply with this archetype, something almost mystical occurs. She doesn't just remind him of herself. She awakens a part of him that longs for wholeness. This is why he can't forget you. Because you become in his unconscious, not just a woman, but a symbol of everything he yearns for but cannot grasp. This is not about your physical beauty alone. Yes, perhaps he remembers the softness of your voice, the way your eyes linger just long enough to stir his imagination, or how you laugh at his stories like no one else ever had. But beneath those sensory memories lies a psychic truth. You carry the essence of what his soul was searching for, even if he himself couldn't articulate it. The eternal feminine archetype becomes a mirror for his own incompleteness. You embody his inner longing to unite with the lost part of himself. This is why he replays moments with you in his mind, not just because he misses you, but because he's actually seeking himself through you. And here's the paradox. The more he tries to detach, the more deeply your imprint clings to him, because you are no longer just you in his mind. You become an archetype, a story, a myth. He may move on physically, he may date other women, but none of them measure up because none of them embody that particular resonance you ignited within him. It's forbidden psychology because it isn't logical. It isn't about compatibility, shared values, or daily routines. It's about the unconscious fusion between his anima and the woman who once awakened it. And when that bond is lit, it's almost impossible to extinguish. This is why he can't forget you. You are no longer simply a chapter in his life. You become the dream that never fully ends. But now we arrive at one of the most dangerous and most forbidden truths of all. It isn't simply that he remembers you because you were special. It isn't only that you touched his heart in ways others couldn't. The real reason he can't forget you is this. You embody a piece of him that he has never integrated. Carl Jung called this the shadow, the part of ourselves that we reject, suppress, or deny. Every man carries with him a shadow self, filled with impulses, vulnerabilities, and needs he doesn't want to admit. But when he meets a woman who reflects those hidden parts back at him, a woman who sees what others don't, something profound happens. You become the mirror. You become the reminder. You become the unfinished story. Think about it. How often have you wondered why a man who seemed strong and confident suddenly melted in your presence? Why someone who swore he didn't do emotions found himself opening up late at night, confessing things he never told anyone? That's the forbidden psychology at work. You weren't just another person to him. You were the one who cracked open the door to his unconscious. And here's the truth men won't say out loud. Once that door is open, it can never be fully closed again. This is why he can't forget you, even when he tries to drown himself in distractions, even when he buries himself in work, even when he dates someone else. You represent not just a relationship, but a confrontation with his own soul. This is what Jung meant by individuation, the lifelong journey of becoming whole. And whether you realize it or not, you were part of his individuation process. You were the feminine force that stirred the parts of himself he had long abandoned. That's why every song, every scent, every memory of you lingers like a haunting. You aren't just a person from his past. You are the unfinished business of his psyche. And until he integrates that shadow, until he faces the parts of himself that you awakened, he will continue to circle back to you in dreams and fantasies, in sudden moments of longing. Because the forbidden truth is this: he can move on from women, but he cannot move on from himself. And you are the self he saw in you. There's a final truth we need to uncover, the one that makes this entire mystery of why he can't forget you so haunting. It's the imprint you left on his psyche. And this imprint isn't just about love, attraction, or even obsession. It's about the way you shaped the story. Carl Jung once said that relationships are the greatest catalyst for individuation, the process of becoming whole. And sometimes the people who impact us the most are not the ones who stay forever, but the ones who ignite something in us that can never be extinguished. You see, when he thinks about you, it's not just you he remembers. It's the version of himself he became in your presence. The way he laughed differently. The way he saw the world with new colors. The way life felt larger, more meaningful, more alive. That is what he cannot forget. This is a forbidden truth. You are stitched into his memory not as an external figure, but as an internal force. He carries you not as a ghost of the past, but as a living symbol of everything he once touched, everything he once almost became. And whether he admits it or not, you are part of the architecture of his identity now. A chapter he can't erase. A flame he can't fully extinguish. A mirror that still reflects his unfinished self. This is why he can't move on. This is why you linger in the hidden corridors of his mind. Not because you were perfect, not because you were flawless, but because you were unforgettable. And so, the forbidden psychology reveals itself. It's not about memory, it's about meaning. You gave his life a meaning that was too powerful to fade. And that, more than anything, is why he can't forget you. If this video sparks something inside you, don't let the insight fade. Hit that subscribe button so you never miss another deep dive into the hidden truths of love, psychology, and attraction. Speech balloons, share your thoughts in the comments. What part of this resonated with you the most? Your story might inspire someone else on their own journey. And if you want to go even deeper into the psychology of relationships, check out the videos linked right here on your screen. Remember, awareness is the first step to power. Don't just watch, transform. Subscribe now and step into your own hidden strength.